It's Chelsea,
It's Nina,
and
and
you're
you're
in
in
the
the
Critics
Critics
Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to another week with Chelsea and Nina on the Critics Kingdom.
Yes. And this week we are doing part of the unavoidable franchise, I guess I would say. High School Musical. Um, Not sure if everybody watched this one when it came out. We were a little bit older because it came out in 2007. But I think, it was still one of the ones that was like during that golden age of Disney, I think, as we've stated before. And I think I especially remembered all of the promos Disney was doing in relation to it and how it was such a big thing that Miley Cyrus is at the in the inn scene. Not sure if you remember that, Nina, but I just
Oh,
remember it was this huge thing and I don't know why.
yeah. I mean, it was definitely because we discussed on the last review of High School Musical how I was definitely on the cusp when it came out, and it was like I watched it and I bumped some of the songs for sure, like on my iPod, but I wasn't fangirling over it because I felt a little bit too old for it. And by the
Mm-hmm.
time High School Musical 2 came out, was definitely way past too old for it. But my younger sister is about 5 years younger than me, and so when this came out, she was 8, I believe, or like
Mm-hmm.
9, and yeah, she was at 8 or 9, and she loved this. High School Musical was, I don't even know if there's an equivalent from my childhood of like just like huge sweeping films that like took over everybody's lives, but High School Musical as a franchise was that for my little sister for sure. So she loves High School Musical too. And
Mm-hmm.
has like a very like just very fond memories of the entire sort of High School Musical franchise, or at least those 3 films. I remember being forced to go and see High School Musical 3 in theaters because I had to go with like my little sister and my little cousin, and that's what they wanted to see.
Yeah. No, it really had a hold on the world.
Yeah,
We'll get a little bit more into it once we, get into the review portion, but like that franchise held so strong for so many years and it still has a hold, like it was, I think what you're saying, I don't know if there was a equivalent or there wasn't a TV equivalent, I don't think. We were a little before Cheetah Girls, which is the first one that I can really think of TV wise, because I think for us, a lot of it was a lot of the golden age of Disney was during when we were little. Like Disney,
yeah,
the movies, though, like the
yeah,
proper movies,
for
like
sure,
this,
for sure.
the Hercules, the Mulans, all those came out when we in the 90s when we were growing up. So that was our version, but we definitely didn't
Yeah,
have the TV stuff until we were a little bit older.
that's for sure. Um, but I guess yeah, with that, I'm happy to hop on into the recap.
Yes, let us know what Troy and Gabriella were have been up to since the first one.
Well, we returned to, I don't really know the name of that school, but the Wildcats. Like we
I think it's
returned to
East High School.
East, like sure, we returned to the Wildcats. At the end of the school year, it's the last day of school, and we see like it's a very sort of like 80s teen movie opening. Like I got my little like Dazed and Confused vibes. I mean, that movie came out in the 90s, but it was about that. You know what I mean? The point is,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's like, empty hallways, and they're sitting in their classroom just like staring at the clock, waiting for summer to begin. And then, when the bell finally rings, everybody, throws their papers in the air and runs into the halls, and they're singing and they're dancing. And they're telling us about all of their summer plans. The goals include money and romance, like as all like teenage like children, like that's what they want over the summer. They want to fall in love. They want to like kind of have adventures in that sense. And they probably want to line their pockets with a little bit of cash from like, I don't know, the local like dive shack or something like that. So we kind of go through that with each of the characters. We see that Troy, they're going into their senior year next year after the summer. So we see that Troy and his friends are starting to sort of think about college. Troy is really, we get a sense that he's really concerned about getting a good scholarship somewhere. Um, Gabriella really wants a summer of like love and romance with her boyfriend Troy. They're still together. And then we go and we see Sharpay and Ryan, and we find out that Sharpay's parents actually own the country club. And and we see Sharpay in her like true element, and we see how she just like runs the whole scene of this country club. There's a talent show that's held every year that her and Ryan have been winning since they were like 6. And she's just like, it's just essentially a very Paris Hilton vibe. From which was like she was a super popular figure at this time. That Disney clearly sort of used as an inspiration for Sharpay. So we see that she has a plan. Like she still has a thing for Troy. She's so upset that he's with Gabriella. So she hatches a plan to essentially get Troy to spend his summer at the country club with her in hopes of sort of stealing him away from Gabriella over time. And the way that she's doing that is that she gets I guess like the head, like the manager of the club, whose life she clearly runs, to offer Troy a job. But when he called, and she says like, whatever you have to do to get him here, you do it. When he calls and Troy's offered that job, he's literally standing in his kitchen like with all of his friends behind him, and he makes a deal that the only way that he will come and do this is if the manager also hires all of his friends. So to Sharpay's great dismay, on the first day when Troy's supposed to start working, or like the first day that the country club opens, whatever it is, Troy shows up and she's like super excited, and then the rest of East High, sure, like the Wildcats show up behind him, and she's like, "What the actual hell? Like you have brought my high school hell into my summer sanctuary." So now she just essentially has to figure out how to like pull Troy away from them, and at first, like they're all like super excited, like they're all like, oh, we're gonna be working together, and they're working in the kitchens as like busboys and waiters, and Gabriella's like the lifeguard, and her and Troy are like, oh, like we can, they do this like work it out song, and then they have this like picnic together. It's all very sweet on the golf course, like it's super super cute. But then like they get in trouble for doing that because they're not supposed to really enjoy the amenities of the club. They are supposed to be the help, and the manager had issues with that. And like because Troy keeps getting in trouble and all of this stuff, like Sharpay doesn't want Troy and Gabrielle spending all this time together. So she essentially convinces the manager to promote Troy to golf instructor. So that sort of separates him from the pack, which causes like, fraying tensions fraying edges and just tensions in the friendship, because now Troy has all these privileges. He's allowed to do things at the club because he's now more of a senior staff member than a junior staff member, and he's enjoying it. He's having, he's enjoying those privileges. He's never mean to his friends, but they start to feel like he's acting a bit big for his britches. And then on top of that, Sharpay knows that Troy is probably thinking about college and basketball and all these things. So she introduces him to her father, and they play golf and they have dinner, and she makes him like the golf assistant. So there's this whole big golfing scene. And essentially, like Troy gets an in, and her father is clearly willing to like bat for him because he's like, oh, like you have all of these extracurriculars and you're great at basketball. I can get you in with the team at the local university. All of this stuff, and Troy essentially just gets opportunities for his future sort of handed to him on a silver platter, with the big catch being that like he has to spend all this time with Sharpay. He has to perform with her in the talent show and do like a or she was originally going to perform with Ryan like she always does, but she sort of kicks Ryan to the curb and announces at dinner that she's going to perform with Troy. And Troy, afraid of messing up this opportunity, just goes along with that and agrees to that and promises that yes, he's going to do that with her. So we just watch Troy sort of pull further and further away. He's missing dates with Gabriella, and he's doing that because he's spending time with Sharpay. So Gabriella feels like she's not getting the summer of love that she was promised. all of his friends are like, dude, like you're missing important things that we do during the summer to like go play basketball with these college guys that you don't even know, or you won't invite us to play with them as well. What's up with that? And Troy is just in like a weird place of he just doesn't know what to do. Because he loves his friends and he loves his girlfriend, but he's really, really worried about his future, and he thinks that that's more important at that moment. So he has to deal with all of that. Meanwhile, Ryan is feeling deeply hurt by his sister's dismissal of him, because that's what it is a dismissal of him, and he ends up spending more time with the Wildcats, or the rest of his high school class, and they play in this baseball game, and like Ryan's actually good, and he just begins to befriend the rest of the group, and he's like, you know what, we're all gonna do the talent show together. So he's helping them like train for the talent show. And when Sharpay finds out about that, she's like, I can't have that stand, and I refuse to have them like beat me at this thing. This is my space. So she tells the manager of the hotel to ban all junior staff from the talent show. And when that happens, like Troy feels really bad about it, and his friends are like, yo, like, what's going on? Are you going to help us or what? And he sort of wavers in that because he doesn't know what to do, which is sort of the final straw for him and his friends. And that like really breaks him. And then he and Gabriella break up as well, because she's like, kind of like, I don't know who you are anymore or what you value anymore. And that hurts. And, he's sad, and he sings a song on the golf course. Bet on It, Chelsea. Is that the name of the song?
That is the name of the song.
Yeah. So he's, he's sad on the golf course. And he sort of decides like that he's not going to play this game with Sharpay anymore, and he's willing to sort of give up these. He kind of comes to the conclusion like, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to get where I need to go on my own. Like, I don't need these connections if it's going to cost me my friendships and, in my opinion, doing what I think is right and being there for the people I love. So he's sort of he's willing to walk away from Sharpay, and she's like, and that, it puts Sharpay in a weird state where she starts to realize it's kind of messed up to emotionally manipulate people. She doesn't fully get there, but she contemplates it for a second. And then she's like, but you promised me you would do this talent show with me. Like, I can't do it without you. And because Troy has like a larger heart, and he recognizes like, oh, this is something that's actually super important to her, he's like, you know what? Fine, Sharpay. Like, I did make that promise to you, and I'm not going to break that promise to you. But in order for me to do that, you have to let the rest of the staff perform in the talent show. And she reluctantly agrees. So all the Wildcats get to perform. There are various performances. There's duets. There's the whole situation. Everybody's singing. Everybody's happy. They all make up, because Troy in the end does the right thing. So they all make up. And then there's like a big like beach party the next day, because now people are allowed in the pool, because before the staff couldn't go in the pool. And yeah, they're all like playing beach balls, and that's when Miley Cyrus shows up. And that is the entirety of High School Musical 2.
And with that, we'll be right back with the review. So, to get into the review, I feel like as we've said before, sequels don't tend to work that well out on DCOMs, unfortunately. Xenon the sequel notwithstanding. And this one was, especially because High School Musical, the first one, is so good. It really leans into like every trope, and does it in a smart and does it in a smart way, even though it is for kids. It's not condescending. And it's just so well done. This one, it's like they had like a very thin premise, which is like, what if we take them all to a country club and have them get jobs? Like, the big idea was, but I feel like somebody just like, they're like, it's doing so well, we have to do a second one. So like, let's figure out something.
Yeah, it almost felt like it should have been Teen Beach Movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they wanted to do. Like, they wanted to make the summer High School Musical film.
Mm-hmm.
But
and
like,
it started too. Like,
Yeah, it
like you said,
started off, yeah.
what time is it is actually a very good song. The choreography was great. Like, it really gets you like, okay, like, yeah, like you're really into it, but it just like did not follow through. And I think one part of it that we spoke about it quite a few times was just the idea of like how I guess they were trying to make a commentary on class to a degree,
Yeah.
but it just came out kind of like thin and weird. Um just because, the idea of like all of them essentially getting jobs off the back of their friend who is very wealthy and her family owns a country club. Um sorry, quote unquote friend. She's not really their friend.
And it wasn't intended for them. She was very
Right. It
upset
was
with
really just for Troy. And then he was like, oh, cool, my friends too, and Gabriella.
And everybody get a job.
And
Oh Lord,
which,
that was
fine.
been. I like. Here's the thing. I don't often feel bad for Sharpay, but I know the moment that she saw all those people walk in that door.
Yes,
She
because
must
could
have
you
felt so
imagine? You're
bad.
like, oh, I'm gonna try and get closer to this boy, which obviously you should never do because if the guy likes you, you will know.
Yeah, just
But
don't emotionally manipulate anybody. Like, just as a
literally.
general rule,
And also, I'm
don't
like,
do
what
that.
happened with you and Zeke? They were
Yeah,
cute at the end of the first one. They like just don't even like pick again. I don't like when people don't pick up plot lines.
yeah.
Like I'm just like you very much like at the end, the entire post-credit scene was for the purpose of us knowing that Zeke and Sharpay are
Sharpay.
like together or something.
He was gonna be baking her brownies and whatnot. Like, I saw that it was gonna be very cute.
It was. So I was just like, so why did we not follow that plot line? Why
And
is it
it's
not her and Zeke at the country club together and everybody is they could have just had another route for them to get there if you really wanted to be like, let's do a summertime version, which I think is fine. But it just didn't have a good premise. Or sorry, it didn't follow through.
and I think in that it's also like the storylines don't develop, and even some characters sort of take a step backwards, I would say. Like, I know that we had a huge issue with Gabriella's portrayal in this. Like, I literally wrote down as we were watching it, I was like, why is she giggling so much? This is
She was so
strange.
whack in this movie, guys. Like,
She never giggled
they
in the first one. I
flattened
was like,
her
this don't make no
character
sense.
so much. Like they really flattened her character because you really got a pretty good portrait of her in the first one. It's like she's the smart, shy girl who is trying to come to a new school and like do her own thing, but the forces that be, aka society, would not let her do so. Like,
And in this, all the girl is doing is swimming in the pool that she knows she's not supposed to be swimming in, and
right.
pining after Troy.
It
Like,
was just
it's not,
weird.
or like, she doesn't really like. I mean, she's the one who breaks up with him, so she's like. But the point is that like she doesn't. We don't see her do anything.
She literally does not like.
She's
There's
like,
literally nothing for her to do in this film. Like I was like, we couldn't even give her like a male suitor, like damn, like another one to like kind of put Troy on his toes, like something.
like, and like, maybe she's trying to unionize the workers. Like, I don't know, but like, give the girl something to do. No, she had nothing to do with this movie. And then with Sharpay, it's like this is it's arguably the same plot. Like, you are really into Troy, you're upset that he was really into somebody else, and so you're orchestrating all of these ways of like trying to hurt other people to get to him. And it's like, one, didn't you learn last time that's not gonna work? You ain't learned last time that's not gonna work. And two, like, again, this is the same plot line. So like
Right.
literally, just why did we could have done anything else?
It just seems like such a waste of a summer movie, like of a summer teen movie. Like I'm like, that's where the best teen movies are found.
Yeah,
Or,
that's
like,
what I was gonna say too. Like, it's just like, even like they put it at this country club. It should have been much more interesting and much more fun. Like, hijinks should have ensued, and there weren't many hijinks at all.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. I just think of I can't remember if you said did you watch the OG Beverly Hills 90210?
No,
Oh,
that was
okay.
not my. I haven't watched it, but I know I've seen like clips and stuff of it, and I do I can imagine that, like, I can see how that could have been a good reference for for this movie if they had done that.
um yes, I yes, and I bring it up because when Beverly Hills 90210 came out, it actually did not do that well the first season. It didn't pick up, I want to say, until season 2, which they aired during the summer. And that's when it became like the phenomenon that it is today, and it was set during, it was like summertime for them too.
Hmm.
um and it's literally half of it is set at a country club, and I'm just like, you had a whole season that literally became this phenomenon, and you didn't use any of that as like a inspiration or like anything, because I'm like, there's just so much you can do with teens on a beach or at a club by the pool, like,
Yeah.
you know. So it just seems, it's, again, it just seems like a wasted premise that could have gone a lot further than it did. And then also, just, like a stray note, she at one in the beginning is getting a guacamole facial, and I just want to know what is in said facial. Is there onion in there? Like, I have questions. Are we putting lime and lemons on people's faces? Because you shouldn't do that. Um, like,
That's straight up acid. Oh,
like, you trying to dismantle your acid mantle?
Lord, yeah, that was. I mean, and in that vein, I also just want to say, like, I literally wrote down halfway through this film, burn all the hats, just burn
Oh
them
my
all. Like
god.
they were so atrocious, and like that girl, is it Kelsey? Her name, the little pianist.
Yes, Kelsey, the one who always wears the hats.
I was like, this is not. This really has to stop. Disney just has to stop doing this in general, because we had the same issue in what, Frenemies, where
Yeah.
Zach, where I'm just like, take the hats off, people. Y'all clearly don't know how to choose them properly for anybody's face or just general aesthetic pleasure. You know what I mean? Like, it looks so bad.
The
It's
only
visually jarring. Just
the only
take the hat.
defense I have of this film and that is the fact that it was 2007, and we have discussed on this podcast how fashion was horrible. Um, in like 2000, from like 2005, 6 to like 2012, it was just dark. It was very dark fashion wise. Like, I don't know what we were wearing. There was a lot of sparkles, and it was
There were
just like,
so many sparkles.
it was just so many sparkles and gauchos and camisoles with bejewels. It was too much. Because even in
The
this, they
little
were
half
clearly,
sweaters.
oh my god, the half sweaters and the camisoles. I wore that for my 6th grade school picture. Good God.
Oh, that's excellent. I'm so happy. I don't think I have any pictures with me in that. I definitely had them. Like, me and Aeropostale like had a whole situation going on. And I'm just really happy that that is not documented. I don't think you could find it anywhere.
I'm very happy that I did not have social media, so there's like, they're in my house. All the photos are in my house, but they're not
In a
online.
box.
Like, it's just like my parents have those photos. But yes, it was just a dark time for fashion, and you really see it in here. It was also interesting how they very much tried to make Sharpay Paris Hilton, because Paris Hilton was like at the top of her game in 2006, 2007. And it was before the rise of Kim, which I think happened, when did Kim premiere? I think 2009. I don't know, 2008 or 2009. But anyways, 2007 was very much like Paris Hilton was reigning.
Yeah.
And the
That was
idea of
what
like
was it? The
that type
Simple
of,
Life.
what was, yeah, The Simple Life was on with her and Nicole Richie, and like, there was that whole thing between her and Lindsay Lohan. It was like, oof, the white girls were fighting back then. That was such a great
Yeah,
time.
man. Oh my God, is that when Lindsay Lohan released Rumors? That was a bang.
Yes, I want to say there was a lot going on during that time period. There's literally a whole Instagram account that's like literally named Pop Culture Died in 2009. And the more that I think about it, I'm like, you honestly might be correct, because the girls it would just be insane. I'm so happy we didn't have social media back then, because like, could you imagine?
Oh no, it would have been bad.
It
would
would
have
have been
been
so bad.
bad.
We just had to hear everything from like Us Weekly and People, where it's just
Right?
sources say, versus like if you actually had like all of them tweeting. Oh my god. What an iconic time period. But yeah, they very much were trying to make Sharpay like a Paris Hilton knockoff. She also had like 2 friends in here, one white one and one black one, and it was very weird because they had no like development. other than just being her little servants.
It's like this weird thing of like, okay, so Sharpay rules. I also just don't believe that no one at her school knew. Like, Sharpay is not the type of girl to have like her parents own a country. I mean, all right, there's sort of two ways it can go, and the way that the film is trying to portray it is that Sharpay wasn't like, she's clearly not, even though she has, you know, this musical or like performance drive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be real lax about the talent part. Because homegirl, she just be like, everything she has performed so far in like the series has been like straight up musical appropriation of various cultures, and it's quite upsetting. But so, and Ryan's clearly the talented of the two. So
he is.
So like, so she has this performance drive, and that puts her in this, like, she has a certain circle, not even a circle, it's her brother and the drama teacher at school, and maybe she's an outcast at school in all other like ways, and therefore the country club is sort of her sanctuary, and she doesn't like, that's the place where like people seem to like love and like genuinely like her, even beyond just like working for her. And so she wants to keep that space sort of her own space that she can, you know, exercise her power and etc. in.
Mm-hmm.
But my issue is that like psychologically that tracks for somebody who does not have Sharpay's personality. Like, Sharpay's personality suggests to me that she would make it very clear to all the little, like, Sharpay's personality to me suggests that when she was 8, she would have invited everybody to pool parties at the country club. You know what I mean? Like, since she was 8, there would be like an end of summer or beginning of summer party at her parents' country club for all the kids in the grade. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't track. Like, I don't believe that no one at her school knows that her parents own this country club. That just doesn't make any sense. Like, she would have bragged on that a long time ago. She also has a brother. So one of them would have bragged on it a long time. Like, there's no way both of them were like, nah.
No, it doesn't make sense, because it's also like she's clearly the rich kid in school. Like, she is the one child that is extremely rich, and everybody has known it. Like, and it's like, so where is this suddenly like, how do you not know that this girl's parents don't own Lava Springs Country Club? Like, come on now.
Like, there's a chance they own the high school.
Maybe so.
You know what I mean? Or like, the reason that y'all have like real good books is because of like the taxes they pay. Like, right. You know what I mean?
They're single-handedly supporting East High School.
You know what I'm saying? Because like, I don't think it's coming from Troy's daddy and his coaching job. Like, I don't think that that's the case.
No, it's true. It is very. It is. They have a few things that's like they're just incongruous with like the actual personality of the actual character that they have built. But I feel like that's like actually a running theme in a lot of Disney movies that we found, where it's just like, your character is made this way, so why are they doing this? Or how does the story does not track, like,
in any way, shape, or form. And I guess in that vein, like, maybe we could talk about, you know, how like, I wrote down like the morality of this film doesn't really match up with the experience, like the experiences that the characters are having. And it was just because like, I was just like, and I feel like I said this multiple times on this podcast, I keep coming back to it, but it's like, okay, real friends support you. Real friends don't make you feel bad for pursuing your dreams. And they'll like recognize and support when you have to do things that might like, maybe you have less time for them, but you're doing it in pursuit of bettering yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, real friends recognize that. And I'm really tired of, in these films, watching all these little boys run around in their feelings, feeling bad. No, not that little boys should run around in their feelings. Like, yes, right? But like, not to the point where like you mad about your friend not being able to like come to basketball practice, or like not inviting you to play with the college players that he got invited to play with, because like that don't make no sense. They didn't invite you to play with them. They invited him. Don't begrudge him his
Exactly.
opportunities. Like, that's crazy. That's
It
crazy.
was very weird. Like, I'm like, okay, I understand that you all are teenagers. So I allow a certain amount of jealousy because this is probably the first time this has happened to you where somebody is clearly like more talented than you. Obviously, you all are going to get a huge smack in the face come college. But you're 15, you're 16, 15, whatever right now. So yes, this is the first, just like, wow, they just have talent and like they're going to get further than me in this particular thing just because they have a natural talent I don't have. Fine. But yes, they took it to the point where it was like, now, girl, the man skipped, 3 or 4 hangouts, but you know exactly why.
Like, he didn't
And
hide it from you.
you're just being dense. You're being dense and you're being jealous. And it's like you need to calm that on down, okay? Your friend is getting huge opportunities to play with the University of Albuquerque's basketball team, which okay. And you just never know. It's like that should be a positive thing for him. That's also a positive for you. Because he's your friend. You should be happy for him.
Yeah, and like, and it's also that thing of, and I think it's I don't know if, to the extent to which we've discussed this on the podcast before, but it's also sort of important to note, like, in this movie that's attempting to be about class, like, it is not easy for that person who is traversing classes to exist, right?
Right.
Like, it is not like when Troy has to make that decision of like hanging out with his friends or like going to basketball practice with this college team and like doing something better for his future. When he has to make that decision of like meeting Gabriella for dinner or going to dinner with like the big donor at the university, like, that's not an easy decision for him to make to begin with, right? And like, he can go to the dinner and he can realize that he can fit in and be adaptable and all of that stuff, but that doesn't mean that he enjoys that company. That doesn't mean that he's having a good time doing that, but it's like he's playing the game. And this is how the game is played. Like, we can have a whole conversation, yes, about like whether or not the society we live in, like the games that we have to play in the society we live in, are toxic, but it's very hard to change it when you don't have power.
Exactly.
Very hard to change it when you don't have power. So like, it's not easy on those people who are making those moves. And that is sort of even further why like good friends, supportive friends are paramount in that. Because Troy is going through something, and I think it would have been a lot of a different situation if what's his friend's name? Corbin
Chad.
Blue? If Chad
His name is Chad.
I believe you. I did, yeah. I know him as Corbin Blue. If Chad had been like, okay, I see that you're doing this. I miss you, but go ahead and like I'll be here when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'm your friend. Like, I will be here when you come back. And I can be understanding about the fact that like you might have to go away for a little bit. And like, yeah, they're 16 and it's their first experience, or 17, it's their first experience with this. So it's something that they're gonna have to learn and like just like learn and grow to do. But Troy gets a reckoning in this film, and none of the other characters do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what bothers me about it. It's like Troy like has to make this decision and he chooses his friends and like, I'm gonna go about it a different way. And it's like, all right, fine, fair enough, right? We saw that play out and we see how that, but it's like there's no moment where his friends are like, yo, we were being dicks. We're sorry. Like,
Right. No,
like,
I completely agree. I completely agree because there's no accountability on their part for how they played into this. And it is definitely something that you have to be supportive of. And unfortunately, especially like you said, in these types of industries that he's going into sports and entertainment, there's a game. Like, and this also was not like
Lord.
made in like the 70s or 80s when the NBA wasn't yet a thing. Like, this was, y'all know what the NBA is, y'all know what college basketball means and playing it means. Like, everything changes. So if he's just and to be honest, he's honestly kind of on the bandwagon late. If he's about to be a senior, like he should have been doing this like 2-3 years ago because you have to start so early. And so it's just one of those things where I'm like, you have to understand that in these types of industries, you have to be selfish. You have to be very selfish because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's a team sport, but you're playing individually.
Mhm.
You can't be trying to get your friend to ride your coattails to the University of Alabama. Like, like, or wherever you end up going. Alabama's actually not that good of a basketball school, but
Yeah,
actually
I was like, I don't know.
they were okay this year. I was very shocked. But anyways, you're not going to be able to, your friend cannot ride your coattails to a scholarship
Yeah.
in this sport. So it's like, he's got to do his own thing. And it probably was for Troy, his first example of, or first time having to figure out what it means to be selfish,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. I actually do think that's at least somewhat good to show to children. Sharpay's been selfish for years. And but I can't even fault the girl because I'm like,
I really can't either.
especially in arts, you really gotta be like,
I'm like, Sharpay is actually doing all the things Sharpay's supposed to do. Like, I mean, like, outside of the like really trying to like psychologically trick somebody into loving you, that's not
if
okay.
you remove Troy from the equation, she's doing everything else that she needs to be doing.
Like, so I can't even be mad at that.
But yeah, no, his friends should have been a lot more understanding and supportive of him. I think the only person that I'm like, I somewhat see your cause would have been Gabriella, because she just kept seeing him running around with Sharpay, and she's like, I mean, am I chopped liver? Like, what is going on? You came here and you dumped me for the blonde. Which is exactly what Sharpay had wanted, but it is still just like, Gabriella doesn't see that side. She's only seeing you turn down everything and then going to hang out more and more with Sharpay. So yeah, obviously the girl's worried, and obviously she wants to break up with you because she doesn't want to get played. And I'm 100% with her on that.
Exactly.
It was
but like she didn't have any other storyline, so it was like I don't even like, as much as like I want to root for you in that, but like now you just sad about the pool. Or
right,
like you're like with the other Wildcats, but like I don't know what you're doing. I love
how it's just them and the Wildcats. It's like we just say the name and the Wildcats.
It's the best collective noun for all of them.
It is. It really is. But yeah, I do think it's definitely an interesting story in that regard to a degree, but they could have done it overall a lot better than they did.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of cute watching like Ryan and Chad like bond a little bit.
Yeah.
That was cute. I appreciated that. And I did appreciate like what they were trying to do, which is to say that, sports ball and musical theater can be friends. Like, there's no reason
sports ball.
There's no reason why they can't be friends. So I appreciate that.
I thought another part that was interesting was also that Sharpay's the rich family was essentially trying to sponsor Troy in like his life, which is like it is trying to buy this boy's
he didn't
life.
Take that. It's crazy. Like that's how you know that this is set in Albuquerque and like not New York. In New York you take it. Like you learn real early. You take what they hand you, yo.
Like, yeah, it's just like do that, and I'll see y'all back in school in the fall. Bye.
Exactly.
Never be seen until September.
Like, oh my god, like a New York kid would be like, "Oh, dead ass." Right. So like, I'm gonna go to that dinner though, and you can't come because you wearing Timbs. Like, you can't wear Timbs in that restaurant. I'm sorry.
We're business casual only.
Exactly. I'm gonna go to that dinner. I'm gonna catch you on the block. Or I'm gonna see you in the hallway. We could still text, but yeah, I'm gonna go get that money. Like that's what's gonna happen. and your real friend would have been like, bruh, go get that money. Go do what you gotta do.
Stack that bread, Holmes.
And that would have been it would have been a very different film.
Yes, it would have been. Because then he probably just would have ended up getting married to Sharpay. Because just like, you know, well,
Like that.
it is what it is. She graded on me. I was trying to marry rich anyway.
Exactly. Like, this is about upward mobility. I'm trying to do better than my parents did before me. This is America, ain't it?
Well, because the thing is, I'm like, I'm sure if Chad had been in that situation, he probably would have taken it.
Oh, Chad would not have looked back twice.
He would have been like, Troy, who?
Chad would have hopped into that van with those basketball players and never been seen again.
Where is he? Oh, yeah, he's at the University of Albuquerque playing on the basketball team, but he didn't graduate high. Don't worry about it.
No, that's no question.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Oh my gosh. So I guess overall, Nina, would you show this one to your children?
I feel like it is inevitable
Yeah.
that they will watch this movie. Because they're gonna watch High School Musical. You know, I think that High School Musical has fallen into that category of sort of like classic preteen films. And they're still making content for it. You know, they have the High School Musical TV series on Disney Plus. I don't think it's something that's gonna die anytime soon. And I think when it dies, like it will be memorialized, you know? So I think that they're definitely gonna end up watching it. I like High School Musical. I like it a lot. Would definitely watch High School Musical with them, choose to show them High School Musical. High School Musical 2, I don't know. Like, I might watch it with them, but for like a comedic factor. You know what I mean? Like, like they'll be like genuinely watching the film, and I'll just be like, "This shit is so crazy." Like in my own head as I'm watching it with them. You know what I mean? Like it might just be like, "Oh, like I have nothing to do today, and I'm bored, and I want to laugh. That's why I'm sitting and watching this with my children." But if on the days where I don't feel that, or I just have things to do, like I don't need to be there. And I would hope that it doesn't become like a repeat film. Like I hope that they really like the first one and they watch the first one a lot, but they don't watch the second one very often. That's where I hope it ends up. But yeah, I think that they're definitely gonna watch it. I don't see a huge issue with them watching it. Like I might just, mention just like, just so you know, if somebody shows up and unless they are asking you to do something like illegal or something that like actually strips your soul apart, you better say that shit and pass on me. Like you better not go throwing away no opportunities for your little big-headed friends. Like don't do that. I've raised you better than that. But yeah, that's how I feel. You, Chelsea?
Yeah, I feel like I would agree. It's like it is inevitable. Like it's like you're not going to be able to get around it. It's kind of like when people watch Grease. Like you watch Grease 2. Though Grease 2 is better than this, of course.
Oh, I was gonna say not better than Grease.
No, it's better than High School Musical 2.
Oh my god. Yeah, it is better.
There are some people though that are really like they love it more, and I'm like, this is interesting. Won't comment on that. But like, I think it is inevitable. So it's like it's probably gonna happen at least once, but it's definitely not gonna be one where I'm like, we need to watch High School Musical 2. No.
Yeah.
Be like, let's just watch High School Musical.
Yeah.
And like we're fine. I haven't seen the third one, so I don't even know if that's worth it. You said you couldn't remember it, right?
Yeah, I was like, I think I actively blocked that experience. Because I know I was in that theater. I know I was physically sat inside that theater. And it was like 2009. It wasn't like I was like on my phone or anything like that. I was physically sat inside that theater in Kings Plaza, back in Kings Plaza. I had a movie theater. And I remember nothing. Literally nothing about that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that means it was bad or if I was just like so upset that I had to be there that I refused to catalog any of it in my memory. But yeah, that's what happened. So take that as you will.
All right. Well, with that one, guys, we will see you next week, or we'll hear you next week.
Or you'll hear us. Something in there.
Something around there.
We'll interact from afar digitally.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Critics Kingdom. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify and SoundCloud so you can stay up to date, as well as interacting and letting us know what you guys think on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Critics Kingdom and on Instagram at The Critics Kingdom. We're excited to talk to you again next week.